Reddit, what are your most horrible/hilarious SX stories? Story 1. I was having sex with my ex-boyfriend, missionary style, and we were getting really into it. My dog was asleep on the foot of the bed, but she usually paid no attention to us, so we weren't concerned. Things just keep getting more heated and more heated when suddenly my ex yells "OH, buck," and his cock went entirely limp inside of me. What? I asked frantically, thinking he was having a heart attack. Your dog just licked my a-hole. I couldn't stop laughing until I realized the condom had come off in me and we had to fish it out. TLDR, dog licked my partner's a-hole during sex, his cock became floppy like an overripe banana and we lost the condom in my cavernous lady bits. Story 2. Both my boyfriend and I were out of our minds drunk and had stumbled back to his place promising each other absurdly vulgar soul favors, you know the kind. We get to his place and the SX is hot. We do it everywhere, every position except for cowgirl. Since that's my favorite and I'm saving it for last, I can sense we're both close and command him to lie on his back while I proceed to mount him. I start my routine and hear a funny noise. It's dark, and I say his name to confirm what I fear. Upon lying on his back, he immediately passed out and has begun to snore loudly. I can tell he's out for good, so chuckling, I give up, and go to the kitchen to grab a glass of water. I chat idly with his roommate for a few minutes, we'll pretend he couldn't hear anything over his wow, and head back into my boyfriend's room for the most glorious sight, him lying spread eagle on top of the sheets, unquestionably unconscious, still hard, with the biggest shit-eating grin on his sleeping face. I'll never forget that face. Story 3. Was going at it reverse cowgirl, and turned around to find what I thought was my SOzite popping out of his eye socket. Rushed him to doctor only to find out that he has severe pollen allergies which resulted in a fluid bubble building up in the membrane of his eye. We were nowhere near pollen. TLDR, bucked my SO's eye out. Story 4. Me and my boyfriend were going to lay a blanket out outside beside a hay bale in the middle of a park where no one could see us and have sex. I waited for him to get everything ready and I was leaning on the hay bale. When he went to kiss me, he looked terrified and yelled, "What the buck is on you?" I looked down, and I was absolutely covered in thousands of fire ants. I was standing in an ant pile. I stripped to my panties and bra and ran out in the field trying to get away, and people saw me. Talk about embarrassing. Story 5. I dunno about horrible or hilarious, but kind of funny I suppose. The city bus got me and my girlfriend to school about an hour before classes started. There was an area where we would sit, right at the front of the school, kind of secluded due to a random wall in the middle of a hallway. I was sitting, back against a wall, she was sitting on my lap facing me. I said, if we were naked right now, my penis would be inside you in no time. So, she just reaches down, pulls it out, pulls her panties to the side, she was wearing a skirt, and I was inside her. Just rocked back and forth like that and stopped moving, pretending we were just sitting there whenever someone walked by. I'd like to say I came, but at one point some kids walked by and said no sex in the hallway. And she got embarrassed and stopped. And that is the most blatant of all the times I had sex inside of my high school. Story 6. There was a locked hallway they stacked old desks/chairs in. The hallway was locked, but there was a way to get into it from a back door that was used by coaches and PE teachers. We were there early again. We tried the back door so we could bone in this hallway, but it was locked. As we're walking away, a PE teacher says, "Hey, you trying to get in?" And let us in. Thing is, if you entered and went left, it went to a main hall, if you went right, it went to the locked dark storage hallway thingy. So we went right and boned over a desk. The thing is, there are double doors at the end of this hallway that lead to one of two main hallways. Since this one was not lit, you couldn't see in, but we could see out perfectly well. So we were boning not 5 feet from dozens of other kids walking by going about their school business. It was awesome. Story 7. Level 1. 5 minuti delay. 11 year ago, edited 11 years ago. I posted this a few weeks back on a worst one night stand thread, but still definitely relevant. I was hooking up with a guy in the middle of the street when we decided that the impending side times should probably be a bit more private. So naturally we head to the beach. 3 a.m. horny drunk logic is great, but that was too far away, so we just stopped at the big ass rocks between the ocean and road. Climbed down the rocks until random passerby couldn't see and set up camp there. In the process of depancing, I fell off our rock and landed really hard on my foot. No big deal. Hopped back on rock and had sex with him anyway. Couldn't feel my foot, he had to carry me home, and I figured I would just sleep it off. X-rays the next day confirmed 2 broken bones. Still have 2 weeks left in the orthopedic boot. This happened like a month ago. TLDR fell off rock, broke foot, had sex anyway. Story 8. Happened a few weeks back. Met a girl at a club, went back to my place. Girl was on top, she was going slow at first, but as she was getting close, started going absolutely mental. My head kept hitting the wall, but not hurting, so I just let it keep happening. As she hit that magical moment, she went absolutely furious and the force drove my head into the plaster, putting a hole in the wall, and I ended up needing a few stitches. It's the only interesting story I have, being less than a year out of a 6-year relationship. Give me a few years and no doubt I'll have more stories to tell. Story 9. I was apparently banging with my so while blackout drunk when I looked her in the eyes and said, in a dead serious tone, "I'm sorry." Then passed out on top of and inside her. Every detail of this was news to me in the morning. Story 10. Another one, with the same so as before. We went at it using a condom and right at the end it started feeling amazing, but I was getting close, so I figured that's all it was, so I arrived, and then realized there was no condom. We searched the bed, tore the whole apartment apart before realizing that it had to be in her. So we both took a shot at trying to get it out, to no luck, so it was doctor visit time. The double whammy was that she had to take plan B as well as have the condom fished out from its resting place, lodged in her cervix. Bonus triple whammy, the condom was a promotional condom for Israel with the slogan, "It's still safe to come." Bucking liars. If you made it this far, please consider pressing the subscribe and like button. Now continue to the video. Story 11. Used to bang my high school girlfriend to Cotton Eye Joe and a whole bunch of other retarded songs. God, I miss that girl and her awesome sense of humor. Story 12. My boyfriend when I was 16 had some type of ass problem. Not sure what was up, maybe he wiped poorly, but one time after sex I looked down and some gnarly skid marks on my sheets. He acted like it was no big deal. He ended up getting these little poo trails wherever his bare ass sat. On my steps, carpet, his man panties, and swimming trunks. Once I was at his house for the first time and was going to get into his bed for some cuddles, and when I raised the blanket up, shudders, nope. Story 13. Had sex with girlfriend during her period in my car in the dark. Dropped her off and went back to my dorm, and once in the light, noticed the blood all over my forearms and hands. The shower I took looked gruesome. Story 14. I was in high school at this girl's house, and we were dry humping for forever, but she wasn't down to hook up, terribly inconsiderate. I went to the bathroom to handle it myself, and I searched the place frantically to figure out where it all went. Then the smell spread throughout the room. I had jizzed into her heating vent, and there was no way to get at it without a screwdriver. So I gave up, left, and never said a word. TLDR, I accidentally jizzed into the heating vent in someone else's bathroom. Story 15. I used to do snooze, and my girlfriend asked to try it. I gave her some, she didn't think it was enough, so she put some more in when I wasn't looking. 2 minutes later we initiated SXY time. 3 minutes in she stops, says she feels uncomfortable, and vomits all over my junk. Story 16. I'm in high school. An ex-girlfriend of mine and myself were home alone while my mother went to the store for about an hour. So as we're chilling in the kitchen and common area of the house, initial groping and guffawing occurred until we just got into it, and in no time, I was pants down receiving a nice blowjob while sitting upright on the family living room sofa, with my hands nicely resting slightly off the edge of the couch. This felt extraordinarily nice, until my mother and small brother/sister walked in the front door from the store, which has one walkway until you round a corner into the living room. As she walked in and I heard the innocent screams of children walking in the front door, my first reaction was extreme shock, and my response started with a strong uppercut of my right hand into her chin, followed by me jerking my knees upward right into her neck/chin to pull up my pants. You might think, wow, Jangati, that sounds painful. Well, to add insult to injury, as I was jerking my knees, putting my pants on and getting into a standing position, my semi-flaccid penis/balls whacked her square in the face. Story 17. Long story, but it's a good one. Couple of years ago, a friend of mine and I were waiting in his car for another friend of ours to join us. This girl walks by, on the sidewalk, and my friend beeps his horn at her. She looks at his car and starts to walk over. Yes, she's peering into my friend's side of the car. We start to laugh and just said that we were teasing her. She ended up walking away. A few weeks later, I'm at one of the local bars when I notice a new bartender. It's the girl that my friend honked at. I approach her, the bar wasn't too busy, and reminded her about my friend and what happened last week. She looks at me and says she doesn't respond when people honk their horn or yell from cars. I said that she approached our car. She looks at me and says, "Oh okay, yeah, I remember you now." We talk for a bit, I close my tab, and noticed that she wrote her number down on my bill. Said to call her tonight. This is way too easy. I call her later on and she tells me to go to this house party she's going to, which happens to be at a mutual friend's place. I was already heading there. We get there, start talking some more, drinking like fish. Eventually she tells me I should go to her place after the party dies down. We do, and she takes me to this random-ass alleyway that has a door and leads to an apartment. I have walked past this alley dozens of times when I would leave bars and I never noticed this door. We get to her place, put some music on, and chill on her bed. I move in, to start things up, but after a while she pushes me away. I'm a little confused because this person has given me their number, tells me to call them, meet them, then to come back to their place. Whatever, we drink some more, keeping things casual, or awkward, and I try my luck again. No dice. Finally, I bring up what I just mentioned, how she brought me here. As I finish my sentence, she grabs my head and pulls it to hers and says, "I like it rough." I'm way too drunk to take this all in, but we start going at it, and before I know it, she is on top of me. I position myself on her bed, but she is going insane, just moving all over the bucking place until she is on top of me again, but this time, I'm lying face down. I go to turn over, but she wraps her arm under my throat, and pulls back. Puts me in a bucking Steiner recliner. At this point, half of my body is hanging off the bed. I have no leverage. She's talking and talking, but I can't understand her. I'm freaking the buck out, thinking to myself I'm going to die here and no one knows I'm here. Finally, my body falls off the bed and I take her with me. I get to my feet quick enough and she shoves me into her bookshelf, the whole thing topples over. She looks at me and screams, "You're just like every other bucking guy." Still screaming, I grab my shit and bust out of her place and back to my apartment. It's 8 a.m. at this point. My roommate was already up and says, "Did you get mugged?" I had scratches all over my neck, face, forehead, etc. I never saw her again and I heard she was fired from that bar pretty quickly. Years later, I meet a friend for drinks in town, near where this happened. We start talking and I see the door open up and that girl comes walking in. I lean over the table and I say, "Dude, I have a bucking story to tell you." Before he can ask what, she sits at the table with us. "Oh hey dude, this is my new girlfriend." Awkward city. TLDR, met a girl at a bar, she took me home and literally tried to kill me. I escaped her apartment. A good friend of mine ends up dating her years later. Story 18. I was riding in a limo when things got heated between me and my GF. I finished and started putting my pants back on when the driver suddenly slammed on the brakes. I ended up sliding down the entire length of the limo, right up into my pants. TLDR, used a limo to put my pants back on after SX. Story 19. This guy I was hooking up with often finished a little too early, so we bought those climax control condoms. They affected him so much he couldn't finish, so I ripped the condom off him like a boss and blew him. Immediately after, I regretted it. I couldn't speak properly the rest of the night because my mouth was completely numb. Story 20. Over winter break, the boyfriend and I were staying at our respective parents' houses and we bucked like rabbits whenever the opportunity arose. We frequently had sex in our cars. One time, we drove my car out to a field near my mother's house. You couldn't see the road from where we were parked, it was at least a half-mile from many houses and it was night so we thought we wouldn't be bothered. Fast forward, we're laying there holding each other after sex, when all of a sudden I see a light out of the corner of my eye. I say to him, "What is that?" We sit up and see someone walking out of the woods, towards our car, less than 20 feet away, with a flashlight. We freaked out, hopped in the front seat naked, started the car and floored it. Scared the buck out of us. Story 21. SXY time with my ex, she was tiny, about 45 kilograms, and I'm a pretty big guy. She's going down on me and I tell her to turn around into a 69. We'd been drinking a bit and she was seriously hyperactive. She does this sort of jump thing over my body and face just as I'm sitting up to change position and bam, her shin cracks in the chin and knocks me the buck out. 10 years later I see her sometimes and she still says, "Or I'll knock you the buck out" when she asks me for something. Story 22. I knew a super awkward dude in high school. He had a crush on me, let me know, and I rejected him. Regardless, we remain friends. Fast forward to the end of college. We've been chatting online a lot, and he invites me on a trip to the beach. Overnight. Alone. With booze. Now, I can be a little bit oblivious, but I got those signals loud and clear. I didn't really say anything to him about it, but I decided beforehand that side times would not be out of the question. I don't usually care for alcohol, but I don't mind getting drunk with friends, and he mentioned several times that he was supplying lots of alcohol and was going to finally get me to loosen up. Because of this, I considered the upcoming trip quite carefully beforehand, deciding on my boundaries while I was sober. We arrive in the evening and the beach is deserted. Sunset, campfire, lots of port wine, I'm smashed. I distinctly remember having the most uninhibited pee of my life, staggered into the dunes, took off my pants and threw them into the air, fell down in the sand, coincidentally pissed downhill and couldn't stop laughing at how apparently skilled I was for not getting a drop on myself. Dude comes to check if I'm okay and catches me with my pants half off and backwards, has to help me back to our spot. We're lying in the sand, side by side, talking about something that I can't recall, and out of the blue he asks, "What if we slept together?" I giggle, "What if we did?" He rolls over on top of me. We're making out sloppily, cracking up all the time because sand is all over my face from falling everywhere. He keeps asking me, "You're not going to hate me tomorrow, are you?" I tell him of course not, because maybe some girls get themselves into regrettable situations when they're drunk, but sober me thought out everything. More kissing, dry humping. He pulls my shirt up and is going to town on my boobs. He guides my hands to his pants, but eventually he has to undo his own fly because I can't work a button. I'm holding a penis. It's glorious. Soon he says, "Oh God, I'm going to come," and then, "This is so wrong." And then, "Shit, this is wrong. We're going to regret this tomorrow." I stop. "Do you not want to do this?" "I'm just really drunk. Did you get me drunk and seduce me?" He chokes up. God is testing me and I keep failing his tests. Then he removes himself from atop me and starts talking about how he keeps trying to be good and get his life together, but every time things are going well he becomes weak and gives in to sin. He then skulks off into the dunes for like half an hour. Then he comes back, tells me we had better drive back home, at 3 a.m., because it's starting to rain and he doesn't want to risk his car getting stuck. He's too tired to drive safely, so I drive his car the hour back to my house, during which time he dozes or pretends to doze. When we get there he refuses to look at me while I pack my stuff out of his car. I text him that night trying to figure out WTF happened or apologize or something. I say, "Is there anything I can do to fix this?" He responds, "Nothing except read the Bible and leave me alone for a while." And I didn't hear from him for about 2 months. TLDR, dude seduces me, freaks out right on the brink of coming, accuses me of getting him drunk to make him sin, runs into the dunes with a raging boner, then tells me to read the Bible and doesn't speak to me for 2 months. Classic Jesus cockblock. As an atheist, this experience was what made me start to realize that religion is not harmless. Besides all the WTF and bitterness I have over this experience, it broke my heart to see a good person feel so worthless over something that was harming nobody except the man in the sky. This dude is in the armed forces, upstanding GGG, the kind of guy who will pull over and help you on the highway, volunteers with messed up kids and tries really hard to do the right thing all the time. And because he likes to drink, masturbate, and chase women, that makes him a bad person.